We start with our NCAA football best bets. Here we have Wine Time Sports joining us from Los Angeles, California. He has 3 best bets and I have 2, so let's get right after it. We start at 12 p.m. Eastern with the Indiana Hoosiers, 2-3, 0-2 in the Big Ten at the number 2 ranked Michigan Wolverines. We're at Michigan Stadium in Ann Arbor, Michigan. 50 Fahrenheit rain, 12 miles per hour. So we're starting to deal with a little bit of inclement weather in these football games. Let's get into the line history here for this one. Here we go. We have Michigan as giant favorites. They are 33.5-point favorites right now. They opened up at 34.5, so it's come back a point. That's all. Sitting at 33.5 right now. Let's get into the total for this one. Move over here. Let's get into the total. Take me a second and get this up and add them. This total has been dropping. We are all the way down to 45 right now at Pinnacle.
Wow. It's not 45 now?
It's at 45 at Pinnacle, 45.5 at other books. This opened up at 49.5 and has dropped all the way down to 45. Just a monstrous move towards the under. Let's take a look at the cash flow for this one. 71% of the tickets and 91% of the cash are on Indiana to cover the 33.5. From a total perspective, you actually have the tickets on the over. Maybe people think it's gone too low. 25% of the tickets are on the under, but 43% of the cash is on that under. And you know that sharp action got in early. Kong's Clips said, I said it 2 weeks ago, Michigan is back. Justin McAfee says, shout out my boy, Wine Time. Said he been cashing. Let's get to work here. So Indiana comes in off their bye. They are not playing good football. After barely getting by Akron 29-27 in quadruple overtime as 16.5-point favorites, Indiana went to Maryland and lost badly, 44-17 as 14.5-point dogs. 21 points scored against them in the first quarter. They're led by Taven Jackson, a freshman. He spent 1 year at Tennessee, but didn't lose his eligibility in the transfer. He's averaging 172.4 yards per game. Michigan's defense is dominating opponents. For the first time all year, an opponent hit double digits against them. Minnesota scored 10. That's it. 52-10 drubbing at Huntington Bank Stadium. Michigan was 18.5-point favorites. They outgained them 432-169. They're allowing an otherworldly 6.7 points per game this year. You know, J.J. McCarthy isn't flashy, but he's pretty clean. 11 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He's throwing for 215 yards a game. His offensive line protects him. I mean, this guy's been sacked 3 times this year, not being sacked in the last 2 games. And we know what Blake Corum is. He's an absolute monster, averaging 6 yards per carry, has 10 touchdowns. This is Wine Time's first best bet of our show here. Take it away. Hoosiers, Wolverines.
Yes, sir. Really love this game, Jimmy. Look at this Indiana offense, man. I've been watching them. I really looked into him in the beginning of the year. I was kind of bought in on Tavon Jackson a little bit. His brother played basketball for the University of Indiana. I forget what his first name is. He's the basketball star there that did really good in March Madness. I forget what his name is. He decided to go there. The kid's young. He's raw. He hasn't looked that good. He was kind of in a quarterback battle to start the year. He won the job. This passing attack, though, from Indiana is just non-existent. I've watched the tape, and I just don't think Tavon Jackson is any good. Neither do I think their other guy's good. I forgot what his last name is. But this defense, on the other hand, isn't terrible. Tom Allen is a defensive mind coach. First game of the season, they lost to Ohio State 23-3. The defense looked pretty good. They've been playing. I believe they allowed Louisville to only score 21. Another good offensive team, and Michigan is definitely a next level up. I see. So let me get into my play. I do have the under 45.5. I wish I would have got in a little earlier, but I do like that it's already down to 45 with 25% of tickets and 43% of the cash on it. Definitely a sharper side in this one. I don't see Indiana scoring, guys. Every team that Michigan has played this year, I believe they've given up between 7 to 14 points against higher end competition than Indiana. Indiana barely got by Akron. They've been barely squeaking by. I personally do not think Indiana can even get on the board in this one. Haven't looked at the team total. That's not available for me on my book out here in California yet, but I would definitely look that way too. I see Michigan getting on the board, being about 20-0 at the halftime, maybe 28, 27-0, and they're going to start taking their foot off the gas. They're going to start running the clock down. Indiana's not going to be able to get anything going against this defense that has just allowed nothing in the air or on the ground to anyone they faced. Michigan looks like a really good team this year. They haven't really faced too good a competition yet, and this is another lower-end team. I like the under in this a lot. I took the under in Michigan's the first 5 games of the year. I cashed 4 out of 5 of them. I think this is another spot that if you can get the 45.5, I would definitely take the under. I definitely endorse it in what I see being a 35-0 type game in favor of Michigan. Maybe Indiana goes downfield in the fourth quarter. It's 4th and 10. They kick a field goal because they don't want to get shut out. That's what a lot of college teams will do. They don't want to get shut out. But I see this going pretty well under 45.5. I have it more of a projected line of around 38-41. So I see value in that. So I pulled the trigger on the under in that one on a pretty good size bet.
Rance wishing he got on the under earlier. We have North Ender says, my guy Wine Time knows his college ball. That's bet number 1 for Wine Time. Michigan, Indiana under 45.5 at -105. Let's move on to my action and best bets for this Saturday. 12 p.m. Eastern's where we start. Iowa State Cyclones 3-3, 2-1 in the Big 12 at the Cincinnati Bearcats 2-3, 0-2 in the Big 12. We're at Nippert Stadium, Cincinnati, Ohio, 66 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 12 miles per hour. Let's get into the line history for this one. This is also a 12 p.m. start. And here we go. This total sitting at 44 and a half at most books. It's sitting at 45 at Pinnacle. This one opened up at 49. So we've now dropped 4 points, a big move on the total. Let's get into the spread because that's where I'm focused on. And at this point, it's pretty interesting here. I'm not entirely sure what additions will be made at this point. I would like to hear Wine Time's best bets, and then we have another day of capping NCAA football tomorrow. But at this point, my day is going to start kind of all controlled by the Cincinnati Bearcats. I have them -5, and I also maybe make 2 or 3 parlays a year. And I've made one here with the money line and the money line of my next bet. They're both for a unit, and that's how I start my Saturday. So this is opened up at -4 for Cincinnati, and it's now at -5.5 at Pinnacle. Something interesting about this was I bet it at Bet365. The other books are all at 5. Yet the Bovada has moved it to 5.5. That looks like Bookmaker is at 4.5, which surprises me. But I expect this to continue moving towards. And Arthur Mead says that Bet365 has that under 45.5. So here we go. Both teams have a recent opponent in Oklahoma. Iowa State. Oh, did we go over the cash flow? Sorry, let me make sure that we've done that. Sorry. We have 22% of the tickets and 91% of the cash on the under. Clear, sharp money there. And on the spread, 42% of the tickets are on Iowa State and 71% of the cash. So this didn't fully correlate the way I would want it to, but it did so much in my X's and O's that I used it as the anchor for my Saturday at this point. So Iowa State bounced back from their ugly 50-20 loss at Oklahoma's 19.5-point dogs by defeating TCU at home 27-14 as 6.5-point dogs. They feel good about themselves. It was a big home win. They played clean football, no turnovers, while TCU turned the ball over 4 times. Freshman quarterback Rocco Becht, whose dad was a tight end in the NFL, 16-28 for 138 yards in the victory. They're feeling good about themselves. I want to fade teams that feel good about themselves. And now they have to head back out on the road where they're 0-2 straight up and 0-2 against the spread. In week 3, they lost 10-7 at Ohio. That's the Bobcats, not the Buckeyes. They were 1.5 point favorites and they lose at Ohio. It's tough for freshman quarterbacks to win in hostile environments. And it's not a Rocco Brecht thing. Iowa State has lost 8 straight road games against conference opponents and has managed to cover just one of them. He has weapons in Jalen Noel and Jaden Higgins, and Eli Sanders leads the rush attack. He had his best game of the year, 16 carries for 99 yards and a touchdown versus TCU. They have Abu Sama III and Cartavius Norton. They're also capable running backs. So this is a team that feels good about themselves, coming off a big win, and is now heading out onto the road. Cincinnati comes in off their bye week. They've lost 3 straight, and they're an angry group. That's exactly where I want to back a football team. They lost 2 games in a row at home. The surprise 31-24 loss in Miami versus Ohio. Before that tough 26 loss to then number 16th ranked Oklahoma's 13-point dogs. Then 2 weeks ago, they lose 35-27 to BYU as 1-point dogs. So their quarterback, Emory Jones, is in his 6th year as a college quarterback. And he's just 2 years older than Becht. So, freshman 6-year quarterback who's only 2 years older. He was at Florida and Arizona State. 1,226 yards, 62.1% of his passes, 10 touchdowns, 6 picks. He's also rushed for 280 yards. And Corey Kiner's a bulldog, and he needs a big game here. He's rushed for 405 yards and 2 touchdowns on the season. And this Cincinnati secondary is very good, and they can shut down Becht. And that's what I expect to happen here. I'm on Cincinnati -5, and then I'm using them as a money line anchor to my second best bet. Take it away here for us. Wine time. Iowa State, Cincinnati Bearcats.
Yeah, Jimmy, I actually didn't look too much at this game before you told me that you wanted to do this, and I started breaking it down, and the only way I could lean in this is Cincinnati, and if you can get them at -4.5 anywhere, I definitely endorse that to anyone that's looking to bet this game. I'm definitely considering it now. If I can, after this, get on the 4.5, I think I'm going to take it. Like you said, Emory Jones is a 6-year guy, man. This guy been in college for a long time. He's been everywhere. I think you said ASU, I think Florida. He's a talented guy, man. He's finally out of school where I think he could play pretty well. I haven't been paying too much attention to Cincinnati this year. I'm not going to lie. But I do think he's a talented quarterback, and I do think this is a very, very winnable game for him, especially at home against this Iowa State team that has a freshman quarterback starting. So I definitely like your side on the Cincinnati. That's the only way I would take this game. If I can get the 4.5, I'm going to take it.
It is available, the -4.5 at Bookmaker. 5's everywhere else, 5.5 at Pinnacle. So Cincinnati Bearcats to get their first win in the Big 12, to break their 3-game losing streak, to break their 2-game losing streak at home, and to come off of I like when a team is extremely angry going into the bye. It means they're going to come out sharp here, and I've got them. Jarek White on Iowa State +5.5, and it's going to be a lot of fun in that one, Jarek. And it is Jarek's birthday. So I won't say that I hope you lose, Jarek, because I want you to have a great birthday today. But we're going head-to-head, man. We'll see what happens, my guy. Let's move on to the next spot on the board, 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Wine Time Sports, second best bet here. And we go to a big one. Number 8 ranked Oregon Ducks, 5-0, 2-0 in the Pac-12. At the number 7 ranked Washington Huskies, 5-0, 2-0 in the Pac-12. We're at Husky Stadium in Seattle, Washington. Has there been a bigger Washington Huskies game? I couldn't tell you the last time there was one this big, with both teams coming off their bye. So it's been ramping up for almost 2 weeks here. 58 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 5 miles per hour. KD and Kyrie back in the house, man. Basketball season's afoot when KD and Kyrie are back in action. Let's get into the line history here for this one. This is at 3:30 p.m. Eastern, so it's 12:30 on the West Coast, and this is a huge, huge football game. We're going to go to this line history. What can I get there? I apologize. And still, what the hell's wrong with me? Well, here we go. We are sitting here right now with the market move towards the Huskies. At Pinnacle, this opened up right at 3. Other books opened it shorter. Opened up at 3, and this dropped to 2.5 And when it dropped to 2.5, it lasted there for about an hour and a half before it went right back to 3. Then it was dropped back to 2.5 again yesterday morning. This time it dropped to 2.5 and it lasted there for 7 minutes. That's it, before it went right back to 3. Every time it's dropped down to 2.5, people have hammered the Huskies. Let's get to the total in this one and the cash flow as well. For the total, we have it's sitting at 67.5. This opened up at 67. It immediately went up. Well, it didn't mean in 2 hours it took to go up to 68, and then it dropped back to 67.5, which is where it stayed. So it's just sitting here at 67.5. Let's get into the cash flow for this one. Wine Time Sports best bet number 2. We have 46% of tickets and 67% of cash on the Huskies. 46 and 67. And then from a total side of things, all the money is on the over. 94% of tickets, 97% of cash, all the money on the over. And yet, this has not moved up. Raymond Reichard says, do you think you can keep the chats active for the replays? I like to watch and see what the chat says for each game as well. Yes, the chat is active for every replay, but it takes about, I think, like an hour and a half or some time to download. So if you go to watch it and it's not there yet, it's just, you've just gone too quickly. It's always there. The chat will always be there on every replay. It just takes a little while. It's not there right away. So let's talk some X's and O's here before we hear Wine Time's action. Both teams coming off their bye. Oregon's been completely dominating their opposition. They're coming off back-to-back 42-6 wins at home over Colorado and at Stanford. There were some question marks whether they wouldn't be focused after that Colorado game, but they were. Bo Nixon is playing very well. He's very old, and he should be playing very well. Last year, 71.9% of his passes he completed. That was a Oregon record. This year, he's at 80.4%. 1,459 yards passing, 15 touchdowns, and 1 pick. And now the only real concern for Washington is their pass defense is really bad. So it is a concern. It's not a concern for Oregon. So Washington has a 93rd rated pass defense. Oregon has a 5th rated pass defense. They're allowing 153.6 yards per game. They're first in fewest yards per completion, second in fewest yards per pass. This is a very good secondary. Washington was clearly overlooking Arizona last week, much closer than expected 31-24 win as 20-point favorites. Michael Penix Jr. having a monster season. First in the nation in passing yards per game and yards per attempt, second in passing yards, third in passer efficiency, 5th in completion percentage. This is the most dangerous football team in the country through the air, and their offensive line protects Penix. He's been sacked 3 times this year, just 3. Take it away for us here. Wine Time. Oregon Ducks, Washington Huskies at Husky Stadium.
Yeah, man. We got College Game Day in Washington this week. And probably the biggest game of the week. This is the game everyone's betting, everyone's looking at. It's the most bet game on the card as of right now. I see about 22,000 bets placed on this game. I think that's more than double every other game on this card so far. So everyone's betting this game. There's so many different angles if you're going to take a side in this, guys. This is 2 great offenses going at it. It's the first time they've ever faced each other while both teams have been in the top 10. So this is really going to be something special, man. Michael Penix, you already mentioned, dude. He can just chuck it through the air. The guy's good, man. The guy's going to be in the NFL. He's going to be a good quarterback in the NFL too, if you ask me. He's also thrown to 3 NFL future receivers. All those guys, big dudes, 6'2", 6'3" monsters, really go up and get that ball. Oregon, on the other hand, they got a really explosive defense. It's one of the better defenses in the Pac-12, if you ask me, other than the Bruins in Utah right now. I mean, they just really haven't faced anyone yet, but I believe they only allowed 6 or 7 points to Colorado, which has an explosive offense. You saw what they scored against USC. A lot of it wasn't prevent D, but still got to give them credit. I see this game starting as slow. Bo Nix, man, been watching him a long time. He's been in college for a long time. I believe he's a 6-year guy as well. I've seen him in a lot of big games. He doesn't do well in them, whether it's at Auburn or Oregon. They lost to this Washington team last year in Oregon. Bo Nix is a great college player. He really does well against the lower end competition, even the medium competition. But when it comes to the top 10 teams, he can never get it done, man. That's kind of been his downfall in his career. Not to say, I mean, he's a great college quarterback, though. Got to have respect for the guy. Guy's a beast, goes out there and lays it all on the line for his team. I expect his offense to start a little slower to start the game. It's going to be loud there. He's going to have some jitters. It's college game day. Washington, on the other hand, I think they're going to come out slow as well because this Oregon defense is just, they're really good. They've got 4 or 5-star athletes everywhere on the field, man. They've got really talented guys. They've got long cornerbacks. It's going to be a good one. With that being said, I see this total being at 67.5, and that's a very high total. I get it. It's 2 of the best offenses in the country. I mean, that's what everyone knows that. Everyone's been seeing these teams score 50, 60 on anyone. They haven't really faced the higher end competition yet. I think it's going to be a little slower every game. This line's at 67.5. I see it at 67 on one of my books out here. I got 6% of bets and 3% of money on the under, and the line just will not move. And all the bets are on this game. You know what I mean? I know a lot of people are betting the sides and stuff, but I think everyone's blindly betting the over because you think Michael Penix and Bo Nix, these 2 offenses have just been explosive all year. It's going to be easy to go over. I think it's going to be under. I expect this game more of around 62, 63. 3-point game either way. I expect this to be a 33-30 win in favor of Washington. That puts us at 63. 4.5 points of value. I'll take it. College game day, everyone's going to be betting the over because of these offenses, except for me. I'm on the under 67.5 minus 110 in this one. If it goes down to 67 or 66.5, I'm going to like it even more just because the books are going to be welcoming more over money in this one, in which I think is going to be a little bit, not as much of a track meet, but more of a defensive battle.
I love it. I love the look. I love the look a lot. I find this extremely appealing here, extremely appealing. I'll put some more time into it as well. But I think I'm going to roll with you on this. Wine time, Washington, Oregon under 67.5 minus 110. And Huskies, Ducks, finally an important football game. It's been so long since that's happened. All right, we move on. Next stop for me is my second best bet on this card. We have a 5-game slate of best bet action, and we go to Lubbock, Texas. Kansas State Wildcats 3-2, 1-1 in the Big 12 at the Texas Tech Red Raiders 3-1, 2-1 in the Big 12. Jones AT&T Stadium, 66 Fahrenheit clear, 5 miles per hour. Let's get right into the line history here for this one. It pops off at 7 p.m. Eastern, and we have the total sitting at 56.5 right now. It opened at 56.5, so one of the few totals that's had no movement at all. 2-cent move to the over. That's all, just a 2-cent move to the over. Let's get into the spread line history here for this one. We have Texas, and probably best to look at the money line, although it's minus 1.5 pretty much across the board, except for at Pinnacle, where it's minus 2.5. So let's go to the money line instead. That'll give us a better idea of what's happened with this line, especially with Pinnacle being a point different than the rest of the market. So here we have minus 123 at Pinnacle. I can tell you that I bet Texas Tech at minus 120. This opened up at minus 119 and it got up to minus 128. It's come back a little bit. It's at minus 123 right now. It was at minus 121 this morning, and it's moved 2 more cents towards the Red Raiders. So let's get into the cash flow for this one, popping off at 7 p.m. Cash flow wise, here we go. They've given us no information on the total. They say that 2,496 tickets are in. On the money line, we have information. 33% of the tickets are on Texas Tech and 54% of the cash. The spread is different. 71% of the tickets and 78% of the cash. So let's move in here. Kansas State Wildcats coming off an ugly 29-21 loss to Oklahoma State as 12-point favorites. And this is generally, as you know me, capping, not the spot where I want to fade a team. But the thing is that they're just bad on the road. They're not succeeding on the road. They're now 0-2 on the road this year. They lost at Missouri 30-27 as 3.5-point favorites. Remember that opened up at 5.5. That opened up at as much as 6.5. You know, they struggle on the road because their 6'5" senior quarterback sees ghosts. Will Howard is second guessing himself, can't be trusted, and I don't like him. He's panicking under pressure. He's thrown an interception in every game this year, and last week he threw 3. After the game last week, he said this. He said this. Listen to this. This is your 6'5" senior leader. He said, "I'd say this one is on me." And that's what you want to hear, right? He said, "I'd say this one's on me." And then he immediately said, "Obviously, I can't put it all on myself." What? Just be you threw 3 interceptions. Be a leader. Say it's your fault, and then you're going to rally the boys for next week. Don't just double back and say, "Oh, it's not all my fault." Will, you sound like a little bitch. That's what you sound like. Take the fucking blame, be a leader, and move on. Don't immediately backtrack and say, "Oh, the other people are at fault too. I'm not the only fucking loser." Fuck you, Will Howard. You're going to lose again this week on the road. Kansas State relies on their ground game. It's really good. DJ Giddens is very good. 488 yards and 4 touchdowns. He rushes for, this as a team, they're rushing for 202.8 yards per game. Texas Tech has looked very good since losing 2013 at West Virginia as 6-point favorites. So when that happened, they were 1-3. And look, everybody was out saying Shuck's terrible. Then the change. Then they bring in sophomore quarterback Baron Morton. Tell Shuck to fuck off. And now everything has changed. They come home. They smash Houston 49-28, 8.5-point favorites. They go into Baylor. They beat them 39-14 as 2.5-point favorites. Joey McGuire is trying to make up for lost time. I mean, this was the sexy pick, right, to have a chance to play in the Big 12 championship. They need to win, and they need to win right now. And Morton needs to take advantage of Kansas State's weak secondary. I don't know if he can, honestly. I mean, he's getting better every game. He has to here. This Kansas State secondary is last in the Big 12 in passing yards allowed. This Red Raiders ground game averaging 179.2 yards per game. Taj Brooks is the best running back in the game. Maybe the team rushing attack from Kansas State might be better, but Taj is a beast. And with all that, Kansas State's beaten Texas Tech 7 straight times. It ends here. Take it away for us here. Wine time. This is a spot, so I've got it bet individually just in case the Cincinnati doesn't take care of business. And then I have it also bet with the parlay with Cincinnati money line. I have them both here. My night is all about the Red Raiders. Take it away for us here. One time, Kansas State Wildcats, Texas Tech Red Raiders.
I love it, Jimmy. I love it, man. This was one of the games I wanted to break down with you, and you messaged me back. You're like, lucky for you, I'm going to be capping this one too. And I was like, thank God, man, because I love this game right here. Hey, shout out to Dabby Cap, my guy right there. Great college football capper right there. MLB capper, anything, college basketball, man. I'm looking at the same, man. You look at Texas Tech, man. This is a good home team. I mean, they should have beat Oregon at home in week 2 if it wasn't for that pick 6. They had the ball down 1 point with 55 seconds left. Quarterback threw a pick 6 to lose the game. I was definitely on the plus 6.5 in that one, favorite Texas Tech. They played well though, man, and that crowd is something special, man. There's nothing to do out in Lubbock. I mean, no offense to it, but I mean, everyone goes to these games. You see the college basketball games. Everyone is at these games. It's wild there. It's such a cool atmosphere. It's actually on my bucket list, believe it or not, to go to a college basketball game at Texas Tech at some point in my life. With that being said, the home crowd's going to be there. They're going to be loud. They're going to be cheering. Will Howard is absolutely trash. He played well last year, man, and this year he's one-dimensional, man. He doesn't have any accountability, like you were saying, and the guy's a bitch. Got every tool in the shed, and he just can't put it together. He's got weapons in Kansas State too. I mean, they did really well last year. They came in this year, I think, ranked the 15th team in the nation. But anyways, I'm definitely on Texas Tech in this one. I took the money line minus 125. I think they win this game comfortably out in Lubbock. It's going to be a crazy crowd out there. It's going to be electric. They're going to be throwing shit on the field before the games. I forget what they throw. If anyone in the chat could tell me, they throw something on the field before the games. All the fans, super random. But I like that look a lot, Jimmy. I'm definitely on Texas Tech in this one. They've been running the ball really well these last couple games. I don't think the quarterback has to even do too much as long as the running back, I believe his name, Taj.
Yeah.
Guy's a beast, man. I mean, if he gets off, man, he's off, you know. I think they're going to run this ball down their throat. They're going to pass when they need to. And I think they're going to win this game pretty easily. This is one of my favorite looks of the week. The more and more I look at it, you look at the ticket situation. It's not something that I don't usually bet super more public sides, but it's like this isn't a super bet game. There's 2,000 bets on this, and the line's moving towards us with the money on Texas Tech. So I love that a lot. Texas Tech money line minus 125. I'm not going to take the 1.5 just in case something happens crazy, but I think Texas Tech wins this game.
So do I. I can't wait for it. I'm excited. And Jose is told it's tortillas.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, tortillas.
Tortillas from our friend Jose Bouquet. So that's my plan. And so far, I don't want the Thursday night action here, but I love your under 67.5. I'm might not bet it right after the show. I kind of want to see what happens with this number 2, because you're right. With College Game Day over in Seattle, maybe this goes up a titch. I mean, I'm just very interested seeing. You're right. If it goes down, then that's more power to us. Let's move on to the final game here on our college football best bets, and we head to Corvallis, Oregon for this one. Wine Time Sports, number 18th ranked UCLA Bruins, 4-1, 1-1 in the Pac-12 at the number 15 ranked Oregon State Beavers, 5-1, 2-1 in the Pac-12, 62 Fahrenheit, cloudy, 6 miles per hour. Let's go over to the line history for this one. I got the money line up here. Sorry, let me switch it over to spread here quickly, and let's see what we are dealing with. From a spread perspective, we have, here we go. We have UCLA sitting as 3.5-point dogs right now at Pinnacle, and that is juiced. That is juiced. So this opened up at 4.5, and immediately 16 minutes later went to 5.5, and it stayed there for about 4 hours. Stayed there for about 4 hours. Then it started coming back, dropped to 4, and then today at Pinnacle, about 45 minutes ago, it dropped to 3.5. So that's where we stand right now on the spread. Let's take a look at the total for this one. And sorry, I gotta take a second, get this total up here and moving. Here we go. So taking a second for my to load. From the total standpoint, we're sitting at 53.5 at most spots, but Pinnacle, actually, no, that's not true. It's now at 54 at most of the books. This opened up at 53.5. It got up to 54.5. And again, about 45 minutes ago, it dropped a half point to 54. From a cash flow standpoint, this one is got 62% of the tickets and 54% of the cash on Oregon State. So there are bigger bets coming in on UCLA, 38% of tickets, 46% of the cash. And from a total standpoint, you have 52% of the tickets and 93% of the cash on the under, 52 and 93. Arthur Meade Jr. says UCLA and the hook. He also likes Oregon State team total under. North Ender says, love this Bruins team. Cash my biggest bet of the college football season so far on them. And Ronnie Ambergia says Bruins made a believer out of me. UCLA bounced back from that 14-7 loss at Utah by defeating Washington State at home 25-17 as 3-point favorites. The score flattered the Cougars. They were outgained 471-216. And everybody's talking about this Danton Lynn defense. My God, they are so much better than we'd expect from this first-year defensive coordinator. So the Oregon State offensive line is very good. And, you know, that is going to be a must-watch situation is, UCLA's front seven against Oregon State's offensive line. Also for UCLA, you have Carson Steele, who's come over from Ball State. He was not the number one guy, but he showed against Washington State that he will be the number one guy moving forward. 30 carries for 141 yards. Oregon State, back-to-back wins after losing at Washington State, 38-35. So we have the common opponent here. Oregon State, 38-35 road loss. And then, we talked about, what the Bruins did against Washington State. So there's the common opponent. And the question is Oregon State's defense suspect? And we'll find out this week. Take it away. Wine Time Sports, final game on the board and our final game on today's show. UCLA Bruins at Oregon State Beavers.
Yes, sir. Shout out to North Ender, man, on that UCLA game. We're actually DMing about that game, and he was telling me he's like, my biggest bet of the year is on UCLA, and I was like, I like it, man. I like it. I endorse it. So shout out to him. But yeah, with that being said, man, been watching UCLA football for a long, long time, man, and never seen a defense like this. What do they do in this offseason? They go out and they get D. Lynn from the NFL, safeties coach over in Baltimore. He's a younger guy. I believe he's in his early 30s. The players love him. Like, he's out there coaching them on the field. He's not in the box. He's out there coaching them on the field, putting them in the right spot on the field, all that. I love that. All of our defensive coordinators are all usually in the box, and I just don't like that. I'd rather have coach out there with your team. You know what I mean? Seeing it from that point of view. But with that being said, it's UCLA front seven, man. It's a guy that goes by the name of Lot 2. Top 10 pick most likely in the NFL draft this year. The guy's a beast, man. He was pressuring Cam Ward all day on Saturday. All day. He was just coming after him. On the other side, you got the Murphy twins that came over from North Texas, had double-digit sacks there, came over last year. This is now year 2 for them. So they're a lot more comfortable in this defense, and they really rotate those two guys out there, twins, number 11 and 12. Keep an eye out for those guys. Those guys rotate in and out, and they're going to get to the quarterback. You got Gary Smith in the middle along with Williams in the middle, who also just good D tackles, man. They really open up holes for the linebackers to make good tackles. You got Kane Madrano who's out there just playing free. On the other side, you got a UCLA offense that has, they had a good start to the season against the lower end competition, but as they face the better teams, you can really see the 18-year-old struggle out there. He's young, he's raw. I personally was at the Utah game. I saw him there. The guy, I mean, it was so loud there, man. Like that environment was just, it was crazy, man. It comes out, throws a pick six, first play of the fucking game. Threw a pick six last week too. So raw out there. But I just don't think UCLA is going to have to throw too much in this game. I think they're really going to rely on the run game and Carson Steele. The guy's coming off 30 carries. You also got TJ Harden, another good running back. He was supposed to be the starter coming into this year. And you got a couple other guys that you can rotate in and out that are super good. I think they're going to run this ball pretty well as long as they stay away from the pass and they don't turn the ball over. So on the other side here, we've got Oregon State. We've got their offense. You got DJU, transfer from Clemson, right out of here. I believe he went to St. John Bosco, about 30 minutes from me. Guy's 6'4", 255, has every tool in the shed to be great. Went to Clemson, was a multimillionaire before he took a snap there. Folded under pressure in the bigger games, transferred over to Oregon State, really good program, won the quarterback competition. Guy's been playing good football this year. He can run it. He's a beast. He's hard to bring down. Saw Chip Kelly saying in practice how they're going to most likely need 2 guys to bring him down when he runs the ball because he's so big. On the other side, you got a good running back to his right, and I believe his name is Damian Martinez. The guy's an absolute animal. When he breaks off on runs, he goes off. He's kind of an up-the-middle kind of guy, but when he breaks off, he's gone. You can't catch him. So this UCLA front seven is really going to have to limit the big plays on this Oregon State offense. I think if they could eliminate the run game and make DJU throw, he's got good receivers, but UCLA also has really good corners. They got guys that are 6'2", 6'3", 4-star athletes that have really came out this year, man. They weren't that good last year at all. They were just getting torched. I just think this new culture, they talked about the offseason conditioning, how they're in super good shape this year. Like, they did so much stuff, and you can really see it out on the field. They've had 2 good opponents these last 2 weeks in Utah and Washington State. Utah game, you asked me, they could have very easily have won that game. Wazoo, they absolutely dominated. Cam Ward was getting pressured all day. I think DJU is going to get pressured all game, and if they can limit the big plays from Oregon State, the 20, 25-yard runs by Martinez, the 15-yard runs by DJU, I'm not afraid of DJU throwing it on us. I trust our corners against their receivers. We just have to limit the big plays. If they limit the big plays, UCLA should win this game outright. You look at this ticket count, man. Beginning of the week, it was 6% of bets, 15% of money. All of a sudden, it goes up to 15% of bets, 20% of money. Line starts moving towards UCLA a little bit. It's now down to 3.5. Now I believe the tickets are about 37% of money, 37% of tickets, 45% of money, which I absolutely love. It's contrarian. Vegas is moving this line down. Don't be surprised if you see UCLA +3 before game time. I personally got it on the +4. Yes, guys, I'm a UCLA guy, but I always cap the games before I take anything. I think that UCLA could win this game if they can limit the big plays on Oregon State's offense, and if UCLA can limit the turnovers on their offense.
I love it. Your concern, about stadium noise in Utah, do you think it plays?
Yeah, that's something I actually forgot, Jim. Listen, I think it's going to be loud there. I don't know if it's going to be as loud as Utah, but it's going to be loud. Oregon, the Corvallis it's a hard place to play, man. Chip Kelly was talking about it, playing there in his days with Oregon. They really come out there. I think he's got a couple of games under his belt now. I hope he looks more comfortable out there. If he goes out there and throws another pick six, then it's kind of like, shit, man. You know, what do you do at that point? But the kid's out there. He's 18 years old. He's learning. He's learning every week. I hope he gets better every week. The kid's so talented. He's 5-star recruit out of Detroit, Michigan. One of our biggest recruits since Josh Rosen, actually. So it's going to be a good game. Would I be surprised if Oregon State wins this game? No. I mean, if they have the big plays on offense and if they get turnovers on their defense, if they force UCLA to have turnovers, then they can easily win this game. But I think UCLA goes in here and covers this 4-point spread.
I love it. Wine time on UCLA +4 here at Oregon State in Corvallis. He's also on Texas Tech with me at -120 on the money line. He's on Washington, Oregon under 67.5, which I find extremely appealing. And he is on the under 45.5 in Michigan, Indiana. I'm on Cincinnati -5, and then I'm on the Texas Tech Red Raiders -120, and I took the money line with Cincinnati and put it with Texas Tech so that Texas Tech would be a very big game for me here. And that is our NCAA football best bets for today.